Here we go again.
I could say, no, don't give us, I want to pay you $1 billion or 400 million or whatever it is. Or I could say, thank you very much.
I'm not just MAGA, I'm dark, gothic MAGA. Well, the energy in this room is incredible. All government spending is taxation. So whether it's direct taxation or all government spending, it either becomes inflation or it's direct taxation. Your money is being wasted, and the Department of Government Efficiency is going to fix that. America's just not just going to be great. America is going to reach heights that it has never seen before. The future is going to be amazing! You guys are awesome. Honestly, this is like...
But I've been told by a lot of support. He had a lot of support. And they said that what he did is not even a crime.
And we're going to take Doge to Mars. I mean, can you imagine how awesome it will be to have American astronauts plant the flag on another planet for the first time? Bam! Bam! Yeah! Yes! This is what victory feels like.
Tonight, we are getting our first look at what the Donald J. Trump Presidential Library will look like. President Trump's son, Eric, releasing this video showing a tower with a design similar to the One World Trade Center in New York. The library would be built on a lot next to Miami's Freedom Tower after a judge cleared the way for the prime piece of land downtown to be used for the site.
Yeah! And this was no ordinary victory. This was a fork in the road of human civilization.
One of the things all fascist regimes have in common is that they're full of grifters who cloak their social Darwinistic worldview of might makes right in sanctified language. In truth, it's all just a means of turning the government into a machine to maximize their own wealth and power. Donald Trump's second administration is rife with an astonishing amount of corruption. Since his return to the White House in January 2025, Trump has continued the same transactional approach to governing that characterized his first term, albeit now with an even greater, unprecedented level of unabashed political corruption. Trump has made clear that favorable treatment from his administration is available for a price, and wealthy individuals, companies, and special interest groups have lined up to pay. A defining feature of the Trump administration is that those who pay get to play. Multi-million-dollar political donors have been rewarded with prominent government positions and the power to financially benefit their own bottom lines. Seven-figure corporate donations have translated to executive branch support for legislative and policy positions. Major media companies seeking to stay in the administration's good graces have paid Trump millions of dollars to settle meritless lawsuits. Federal investigations and enforcement actions have dissolved for the right price. This is not just abnormal, it defies any semblance of integrity or ethics in government. While presidents of both major parties have offered plum ambassadorships and other key government jobs to their biggest fundraisers and allies, no other president appears to have filled their cabinet and executive branch with this many wealthy donors, or established what is effectively an explicit nexus between major donations and favorable official actions, including pardons and commutations, dropped investigations and enforcement actions, and policy decisions sought by special interests. Trump's corrupt transactions raise major questions not only about the abuse and exploitation of elected office for personal and political gain, but also about the unprecedented power of wealthy special interests to steer the federal government in ways that serve their goals their best interests at the expense of everyday Americans' interests and, more fundamentally, Americans' trust in their democracy. The current unprecedented level of blatant corruption in the American government highlights the need for change, both specifically to address particular flaws in the systems designed to prevent corruption, and, more fundamentally, to address the underlying problems of a political system that bestows such enormous, outsized power on a tiny, unrepresentative group of the ultra-wealthy. Federal campaign finance and ethics laws are designed to prevent candidates and office holders from becoming beholden to big donors or using their positions for personal or political gain. This is precisely what Trump is doing in his second administration, which makes it abundantly clear that these anti-corruption systems urgently need to be fixed. Trump has rewarded major political donors with plum government appointments to cabinet and other executive branch positions, including positions that allow such appointees to protect and promote their own financial interests. Elon Musk spent almost $300 million to support Trump's candidacy during the 2024 election. Musk was able to use his position as a special government employee and the head of DOGE, which stands for the Department of Government Efficiency, to benefit his own personal financial interests. Musk corrupted decision-making at the Federal Aviation Administration regarding the use of Starlink, Musk's satellite internet telecommunications company. President Trump and his Secretary of Commerce, Howard Lutnick, encouraged the public to buy stock in Tesla, Musk's electric vehicle company. Secretary Lutnick may have violated federal rules prohibiting executive branch officials from using their public office to promote any product, service, or enterprise. The U.S. government encouraged foreign nations to make deals with Starlink in the midst of tariff extension negotiations. White House staff directed federal officials at the General Services Administration to contract with xAI, Musk's official intelligence AI startup company, to incorporate xAI's Grok chatbot into contracting services. Lyndon McMahon donated $20 million to Trump in his re-election campaign in 2024. He then made her Secretary of Education, though she has no background in education. Scott Bessent gave Trump $1 million during his re-election campaign in 2024. Trump then made him Secretary of the Treasury. Kelly Loeffler donated $6 million. Trump then made her the head of the Small Business Administration. Howard Lutnick gave Trump more than $10 million. Trump made him Secretary of Commerce. Charles Kushner, in 2004, pleaded guilty to 16 counts of federal tax evasion, retaliating against a witness, and making false statements to the FEC, and was subsequently sentenced to 24 months imprisonment. Trump, whose daughter Ivanka later married Kushner's son Jared, pardoned Kushner at the end of his first term in December 2020. During the 2024 election cycle, Kushner gave $2 million to Trump, along with a host of other donations to Republican Party's federal and state committees. Trump then appointed Kushner as his ambassador to France and Monaco. Under the Trump administration, individuals convicted of crimes or subject to civil enforcement suits have received preferential treatment when they contribute financially to Trump's interests. The founder and former CEO of crypto exchange Binance was sentenced to 4 months in prison after pleading guilty to charges over his willful failure to maintain an anti-money laundering program, which allowed the exchange to be used by terrorists, drug traffickers, child abusers, and other criminals. Zhao, who reportedly owns 90% of Binance, also paid a $50 million fine and relinquished his position as Binance's CEO. Binance itself agreed to pay a $4.3 billion fine, submit to stringent oversight, and fully exit from the US market. As Trump and his family began organizing the cryptocurrency venture World Liberty Financial in 2024, Binance officials deployed a team of more than a dozen engineers to build the underlying technologies behind the company's signature cryptocurrency. In March 2025, Binance channeled $2 billion to WLF through a deal with an Emirati state-owned investment firm, ultimately making billions of dollars for the Trump family, which owns a sizable stake in WLF. Within months of Binance's effort to bolster WLF's position in the crypto industry, which greatly enriched the Trump family, President Trump pardoned Zhao in October 2025. The Trump administration has dropped federal cases and investigations against businesses that were potentially harming consumers, giving his benefactors a payout at the cost of protecting the American people. This has been particularly notable in the cryptocurrency industry, with one crypto executive telling the Wall Street Journal, quote, "The new badge of honor in Silicon Valley is if the SEC has dropped your case." In 2023, the Securities and Exchange Commission charged cryptocurrency entrepreneur and investor Justin Sun and 3 of his companies with illegally offering and selling unregistered crypto securities. After Trump took office in January 2025, the SEC paused its enforcement action against Sun and his companies. Sun purchased nearly $19 million worth of Trump's meme coin. And as the leading holder of Trump coin, Sun was invited to the Trump's private crypto dinner at the White House in May 2025, at which most attendees were invited based on being one of the top purchasers of the Trump meme coin. As the leading holder of the Trump meme coin, Sun was invited to Trump's private crypto dinner at the White House in May 2025. Sun has also previously invested $75 million into crypto tokens issued by World Liberty Financial, the Trump family crypto venture managed by his sons, Don and Eric. Mark Andreessen and Ben Horowitz, who founded and run the Silicon Valley venture capital firm Andreessen Horowitz, which is a major Coinbase investor, gave a combined $6 million to MAGA Inc. in early 2025. Coinbase also gave $1 million to the Trump inaugural fund. In February 2025, the SEC dropped a civil enforcement action it had filed against Coinbase. Coinbase then donated to Trump's $300 million ballroom project. Robinhood, which operates a cryptocurrency exchange, gave $2 million to Trump's inaugural fund. Robinhood had previously been under investigation by the SEC for offering unregistered securities, but the SEC dropped the investigation with no action in February 2025. Cameron and Tyler Winklevoss, the founders of the cryptocurrency exchange Gemini, contributed more than $2.5 million in total support to Trump's 2024 presidential campaign. In 2023, Gemini had been accused by the SEC of offering and selling unregistered securities, but shortly after Trump took office, in February 2025, the SEC dropped their investigation. Tyler and Cameron were subsequently invited to the White House's crypto summit, and the twins donated to Trump's ballroom project. The SEC formally dismissed its lawsuit against Gemini in January 2026. In October 2025, Trump hosted dozens of corporate executives and other wealthy donors who had given or pledged at least $2.5 million to the ballroom project. While the White House has publicly released the names of some ballroom donors, the administration has allowed others to be shielded from public disclosure. In December 2025, Trump announced Freedom 250, an initiative created to solicit donations from events purportedly related to the 250th anniversary of the United States. Donors who give $1 million or more to Freedom 250 will reportedly receive an invitation to a reception hosted by Trump. The solicitation materials describe several levels of sponsorship, the highest level requiring a donation in excess of $10 million with corresponding benefits packages. As with the Ballroom Project, some donations to Freedom 250 may not be disclosed, raising serious concerns about additional transactions occurring outside of the public eye. The television station ABC agreed to pay $15 million to Trump's presidential library fund, as well as $1 million in legal fees to settle a frivolous defamation lawsuit Trump filed. Because presidential library funds are not subject to rigorous oversight, it's unclear how this money will ultimately be spent. This settlement was reportedly an attempt to gain Trump's favor and forestall any adverse official action, as well as blowback against ABC's brands, including Disney. Paramount agreed to pay $16 million, with most of that money going towards Trump's presidential library fund, to settle a frivolous lawsuit seeking $20 billion, in which Trump alleged that 60 Minutes had deceptively edited an interview with Kamala Harris, the 2024 Democratic presidential candidate and Trump's general election opponent. Days after the settlement payment was transferred, the FCC approved a proposed merger between Paramount and another media company, Skydance Media, which required the FCC's approval. Reports indicate that Skydance's CEO, David Ellison, the son of Trump's friend and Oracle co-founder Larry Ellison, also made a side deal to run between $15 and $20 million worth of ads supporting Trump causes. Meta, formerly known as Facebook, agreed to pay $25 million, $22 million directed to Trump's presidential library fund, and $3 million in legal fees to settle a frivolous lawsuit Trump filed in 2021. Trump's suit alleged that Meta, a private corporation, violated the First Amendment, which protects against government restrictions on the freedom of speech, when Meta suspended Trump's accounts on its Facebook and Instagram social media platforms after the January 6, 2021 insurrection attempt on the Capitol. Meta also gave $1 million to Trump's inaugural fund in December 2024. After Trump won re-election in November 2024, Meta's CEO Mark Zuckerberg sought to reset his once strained relationship with Trump, including by reportedly making several trips to visit Trump at his Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida, attending private dinners with Trump at the White House, and terminating Meta's DEI programs and fact-checking policies, both of which Trump has vocally opposed. Following Amazon founder Jeff Bezos' December 2024 Mar-a-Lago dinner with then-President-elect Donald Trump, Amazon agreed to pay $40 million, reportedly the most Amazon had ever spent on a documentary and nearly 3 times the next closest offer to acquire it, to license a documentary and limited series about First Lady Melania Trump, which she would executive produce. Ms. Trump is set to personally earn more than $28 million from the deal. Amazon has additionally spent $35 million to market the film, reportedly 10 times what some other high-profile documentaries have received for marketing, bringing total spending on the documentary to $75 million. Amazon also gave $1 million to Trump's inaugural fund. The company also donated to Trump's $300 million ballroom project. The company's cloud computing arm, Amazon Web Services, earned more than $500 million from federal contracts over the previous 3 years. 4 days before President Trump's second inauguration, a firm backed by a UAE senior government official who controls $1.5 trillion of the country's sovereign wealth fund signed a $500 million deal with World Liberty Financial, the cryptocurrency startup company founded by Zach and Alex Witkoff, sons of Trump's Middle East special envoy Steve Witkoff, and Trump's sons, Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump. The agreement included $187 million in upfront payments to Trump family entities and gave Sheikh Tahnoon's company a 49% stake in World Liberty Financial. In March 2025, Sheikh Tahnoon met with Trump and several high-ranking U.S. officials at the White House to discuss ways for the United States and UAE to increase their partnership for the advancing of their economic and technological futures. On May 1, 2025, it was announced that an investment firm run by Sheikh Tahnoon would deposit $2 billion worth of funds into World Liberty Financial, which gave the fledgling company enough money to invest that it reportedly could generate tens of millions of dollars a year in revenue for the Trump family and its partners. 2 weeks later, the U.S. signed an agreement with the UAE allowing access to American-made AI computing chips. Access to these advanced and scarce chips, which are made by American companies and are highly coveted by other countries, requires U.S. government permission. The UAE was reportedly the first foreign country to finalize an agreement to buy the chips. The involvement of senior U.S. government officials raised major ethical conflicts. David Sachs, who has continued working in venture capital while advising on tech policy as Trump's AI and crypto czar, helped negotiate the UAE chips deal, and Witkoff reportedly advocated for the chips deal at around the same time as negotiations were ongoing over the UAE investment in World Liberty Financial, a deal that financially benefited both Witkoff's and Trump's families. The Qatari government gifted a Boeing 747 jet valued at roughly $400 million to the U.S. Air Force to be used as Air Force One for the remainder of Trump's second term as president. Ownership of the plane will be transferred to the Trump Presidential Library Foundation by January 2029. The estimated cost of refurbishing the plane is $400 million, with some critics arguing it could be as much as $1 billion. In exchange, Trump's business struck a deal to develop a golf course and luxury villas on Qatar's eastern coastline. The White House announced an agreement with Qatar to generate an economic exchange worth at least $1.2 trillion, which includes a number of deals between Doha and U.S. defense companies. This isn't just brazen corruption. The second Trump administration is selling out Americans to enrich the Trump family. Trump corruption exceeds anything akin to Watergate, and yet Trump avoids accountability because this kind of corruption is simply the way business in America is done after the Supreme Court's decision that anything Trump does as official business while in office is legal, no matter how profoundly corrupt it is. This all comes at the expense of the vast majority of the citizenry who feel powerless to staunch the systemic erosion of the American political system. Perhaps most astonishing of all is that the corruption chronicled in this film is just the tip of the iceberg in Trump's administration. This rampant corruption is the result of a far deeper rot in the polity, with all roads leading back to a politicized and corrupted Supreme Court. President Trump's brazen moves to exploit the power of the presidency to extract financial benefits for himself, his family, and his political allies presents an unprecedented challenge to the long-standing framework of laws and ethical norms that are vital to preserving the public's trust in American democracy. America's democracy is under attack, but all hope is not lost. There are ways to confront this fascism. While many of Trump's actions, however corrupt, fall within his powers and discretion as the duly elected president, there are specific actions that Congress can and should take to limit such exploitation, as well as broader policy solutions that would reduce the impact of big money on the political process. The problems we're seeing are generally the outgrowth of the 2010 Supreme Court decision Citizens United versus FEC, which was based on the thoroughly flawed belief that money that is not a direct campaign contribution, i.e. outside spending, can't corrupt candidates and elected officials, and therefore unlimited spending on elections is fine as long as it's independent and openly disclosed. This spending, however, has never been truly independent or openly disclosed. Outside spending groups like super PACs routinely coordinate their activities with candidates' campaigns, and the very existence of dark money groups undermines the principle of transparency and democracy. Under America's current system, candidates and elected officials can be bought with contributions from outside groups like super PACs, as well as through post-election donations to inaugural funds and presidential libraries.